in a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Hey, all you beautiful movie-loving people out there, live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert. Hey there, everybody. Hey, welcome to the latest episode of Movies Morbius. Come on in, sit down, relax yourself, relax your mind, find your favorite beanbag chair and just chill. Yes, you have my full authorization to do that very thing, because I want you to be relaxed while I go over our latest review of the Sony Marvel collaboration here, kind of like the Venom movies, but this one is Morbius. Yes. This is a lesser-known comic book character that's getting the silver screen treatment, played by none other than Jared Leto. And hey, how about a little taste?
Michael, what have you done?
I was trying to help people, but the cure, it's a curse.
Michael.
I have powers that can only be described as superhuman, but there's a cost. Now, I face a choice: to hunt and consume blood, or die.
We all have monsters within us. It's up to us to control it.
Oh, what could have been. All right, well, before we get into the review of Morbius, let's take care of some pertinent information. What do you say there, folks? Oh, yeah. So I got to let you know that this podcast is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other platforms. And when you're on Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give it a 5-star rating here. Let me see if I can compel you here. Give it a 5-star rating. Are you hypnotized yet? Is that going to hypnotize you into giving it a 5-star rating? I don't know. Let's see if that works. You know what? I doubt it. Chances are pretty low, but you know what? Hey, you got to try, right? And also, while I'm hypnotizing you, feel free to give it a review there too at Apple Podcasts. You just have to scroll down to the very bottom of all the episodes, and there's the handy 5 stars. Can't miss them. Even I can see them. And then the review option is there as well. And also, you can look at the top right. There's the ellipsis, the 3 dots there. And if you click on that, there's the follow show option so that you get the episodes downloaded automatically. Because if you're like me, you got so much stuff going on, you haven't got time to go download some podcast episode. Are you kidding me? Come on. Make life easier for me. And that follow show option will do that very thing. Also, the episodes can be found on moviesmerica.com as well. It's the one-stop shop out there on moviesmerica.com. It's got some episodes out there that you don't find on any of the podcast options. And also, I'm on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica. I'm out there, putting stuff up there, making moves, wheeling and dealing on old Twitter and Instagram, putting posts out there and information. And also, since I'm out there, might as well take advantage of it if you want to give me any kind of feedback or ask me any questions or, give me some movies you might want me to review, that kind of thing. You can tell me how, fantabulous I am or how, furious you are at how terrible I am. I mean, it's, just go crazy, So, and also, typically I'm chugging beers during my reviews, but today I won't, and like the next few episodes I won't be doing that here because right now I'm doing this exercise program called 75 Hard, where you can't have any booze for 75 days. I know the horror. I know. Anyway, so enough of that. Okay, enough of that. We are going to get right into this here review. I almost said preview. That makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so let's get into Morbius, or as I should say, Borbius. Oh God! Well, that's putting all my cards on the table right there as far as how I felt about this movie here. Man, it's what helped me. I didn't fall asleep in this movie like I did in that Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum movie, The Lost City, which was I was going to do a review of that movie, but any movie where I literally fall asleep in it, you know what? I'm not going to do that to you guys. I'm not going to do a review to that movie right there. But this movie I did not fall asleep in, and I am pretty confident the reason I didn't is because I just saw terrible review after terrible review of this movie, just constantly, just inundated. When I got on YouTube and other places, just the reviews across the board were bad for this. And as weird as it sounds, that sometimes helps a movie reviewer when they're going into a movie because your expectations are in the basement for a movie. And going in there, at least for me, when I've got that mentality going into a movie, it actually makes the movie not so bad, right? Or it doesn't seem so bad. The movie is terrible, but it's not as bad. It's tolerant, It's kind of like if you go into like a medical procedure, they're like, I'm telling you, Van, when they stick that needle in your back, man, it's gonna hurt. Oh man, it's gonna be terrible. Oh man, and sometimes you hear something like that, and you got something traumatic like that coming up, and then when it happens, you're like, oh yeah, sure, it still sucked. But I had some time to mentally condition and prep myself for it, and it wasn't as bad as it would have been if I didn't know ahead of time. And so, yeah, with this, it was tolerable. That's essentially how I feel about this movie is that make sure you go into it with really low expectations because then it won't seem as bad, but believe me, it is bad. So I didn't really appreciate that in the trailer. In the trailer, they show Michael Keaton a lot. Michael Keaton, Batman, and Mr. Mom, beloved Michael Keaton, right? And they show his Adrian Toomes, a.k.a. the Vulture character, in the trailers because the Adrian Toomes, the Vulture character, is supposed to be in this same universe. Morbius and Venom and Spider-Man are supposed to be in the same part of the MCU universe. And yeah, they feature him pretty prominently. Oh boy, some of that times real fast. Pretty prominently in this trailer. And he is not at all in this movie. You know what? I'm not going to worry about spoiling that. He is not in this movie at all. Not at all. And the only time he's in the movie is they have an end credit scene where he's in it. It is the most perplexing, confusing end credit scene I've ever seen in any movie associated with the MCU. It makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, I just didn't really appreciate that fake marketing that they did. And it's blatant why they did it. They just thought, oh, hey, we'll get a couple more butts in the seats. Because people think, ooh, hey, there's the Vulture from Spider-Man. Hey, maybe we'll see Tom Holland. Oh, yeah. Oh, maybe Tobey Maguire. Yeah, maybe Andrew Garfield. Oh, hey, whoa. It's deceptive, and I really didn't appreciate it. And And there's a lot of things in the trailers that do not make it into the movie. And I know that's part of trailers and movies. I mean, this is hardly the first movie where that's the case, but just the sheer volume of things that were in the trailer that aren't in the actual movie. I mean, they cut out like entire scenes, entire segments that they imply in the trailer that there is going to be in this movie. And now part of me is like thanking God that they did that, because before I went in this movie, one of the bad reviews that I saw were talking about like how it's only an hour and 40 minutes. And I was like, okay, hour and 40 minutes. Okay, that's all right. Okay, if we're talking about a bad movie here, I can handle an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, it's exact opposite of Eternals. Eternals was the ultimate. Not only was it a atrocious movie, it was long. I mean, it's kind of like that Oliver Stone movie back 2005 with Colin Farrell playing Alexander the Great. Alexander, that movie was like over 3 hours long, and it was just god awful. I mean, so at least with Morbius, it's god awful, but it's thankfully nice and abbreviated, and that took the sting out a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of things in this movie that and it's going to sound like I'm piling on in this movie. I mean, I'm sure it already sounds like I'm piling on in this movie. Now, let me throw at least one positive, just one little pearl in this movie that one positive, good thing. And I thought Jared Leto, I thought he did a respectable job. He does a veteran actor's job and work at portraying the character of Michael Morbius. He puts out there. He's very good at portraying a duality of misery and drive. I mean, the character. I should let you know a little bit about the character. So obviously, this is Dr. Michael Morbius, and his character. He's got a rare blood disease, which it makes it hard for him to walk, if not impossible. He's got canes, and his body is all frail, and he should have died a long time ago, according to doctors, but he's been hanging on. And he's had this, he was born with this, and so he has a childhood friend named Milo in this movie, and they portrayed at the beginning of the movie their kids, and they've got this rare blood disease, and they're suffering through it together. And so he is, he's a doctor, he's a scientist, he's one of the best blood specialists in the world. He creates this synthetic human blood, and they don't really even cover the whole synthetic human blood thing. I mean, that was probably one of the segments that was cut. They have a really brief scene where he's getting, I think, a Nobel Prize for his, or some kind of prize, for inventing this synthetic blood, but they really gloss over that, and so he's driven to try to come up with a cure for both him and his best friend Milo. And they portray him as a brilliant scientist. He does a very good job at being a sympathetic character and caring for his patients. And he's a likable character. So yeah, that's a positive with this movie. Jared Leto, he's a good actor. He typically portrays eccentric characters, like the Joker in the first Suicide Squad movie, and he was just in House of Gucci. He playing Paolo Gucci. Oh yeah, it's like this a character that a lot of people hate. They hated his portrayal as the fat Paolo Gucci when he was all done up in his makeup. But and he was in a Dallas Buyers Club, which he won the Best Actor Academy Award for here, or Best Supporting Actor. He won an Academy Award. I'll just put it that way for the Dallas Buyers Club. And so yeah, he does a lot of eccentric roles. In this one, he's kind of playing more of the straight man in this. Like I mentioned, he's got his best buddy Milo, his best childhood friend Milo in this, and it's kind of weird. This is another thing that they gloss over, because when you first meet the adult version of Milo, they show him he's got one of his henchmen with him, and later on, when Dr. Michael Morbius needs to do some questionably ethical experiments with this supposed cure, he's got to do them out on international waters, and Milo finances the whole thing and provides some mercs on board as protection, as escorts there out in this tanker ship out in international waters. And they don't mention at all, they don't give you even one clue as to how did Milo come into all this money. Like, how is he rich? Is it family money? Is he is he an investor? What is he? I mean, is he a criminal? Is he some crime lord or something? I mean, how did he come into all this money? And why is he surrounded by a bunch of henchmen? Why has he got a bunch of mercs on the payroll? They just don't even explain that whatsoever. I was like, what? Like, how do you not give the audience that? At least give some exposition. I mean, they always say in movies, like, show, don't tell, right? Exposition, there's a lot of people that are like considered exposition dumps, like they just explain everything, right? They don't show you, they just explain. They don't even have anybody give you exposition as far as, hey, how did Milo come into all this money? Like, what's his deal? I mean, they don't go into it at all. So again, another inconsistency in Morbius. And there's a scene where Milo goes into prison because Morbius gets Dr. Michael Morbius gets thrown in prison, and so before I go there, I should give you a little bit more of the plot here, because I'm just kind of going all over the place, and I'm jumping all over the place like a bat flying around, flapping around. I'm going all over the place. But so Dr. Michael Morbius, he's got this rare blood disease. He's trying to find this cure. And he's doing human trials with himself, and he injects himself with this supposed cure, the serum, and it turns him into what you see in the trailers, right? He's this vampire-like creature. He sucks blood, and he can't control his thirst for blood like a vampire, right? And he's got to have blood to survive, and so with that being part of his character, and he feeds on some bad guys, without his knowledge. He has no idea that he's doing this, kind of like an American Werewolf in London, right? Where he turns into a werewolf, kills a bunch of people, has no idea he did it. It's just the werewolf. He just is outside of himself. Well, that's the same thing with Morbius. Turns into this creature. He's not even aware of what he did, and so because he's killing these people, he ends up in jail, and the cops, find out what's up. And so when he drinks blood, whether it's the synthetic blood or real human blood, it's basically like Popeye, popping some spinach, down his gullet. He's got the super strength, right? And he can break through walls, and he's just this powerful being. And Milo, his friend, knows this, because in an earlier scene, Morbius has explained the whole thing to him, how it all works. And I would just like to know, in this prison scene, how is it that somebody can get into prison with a bag of blood that he gives to Morbius to set off a whole chain of events? I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure they frisk you down, or like, you got to reveal everything that you have on you. I mean, they're not just gonna let you walk in there with a pint of blood, right? And so it's just one of those things in this movie where they treat the audience very stupid. They think the audience is pretty dumb. And come on, I mean, I recognize that comic book movies aren't Lawrence of Arabia, right? It's not the pinnacle of believability in reality, right? It's a high, it's a what do they call it? Like, it's high fantasy or whatever like that. It's a hyper reality. It's like you got to suspend your belief, but I don't think they have to go, that far and just and just insulting the audience's intelligence right there. But maybe that struck me a little harder than it would most. Most people will probably just gloss that over. I don't care, So, but that's just something that just got underneath my skin, right? Just rubbed me the wrong way, But yeah, and with a movie like this, a comic book movie, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the visual effects. Okay, the visual effects are, they're just meh, like it's just they're not revolutionary special effects. I think of movies like Inception. They have visual effects, or more practical effects with that movie where you're just like, oh my God, look at those, look at those visual effects. Like, look at that CGI. Like, oh my God, it's incredible. Or like the first time we all saw Jurassic Park, right? Or Avatar. Just these mind-blowing visual effects where you could tell that the film creators, the visual effects teams, they really were given a mandate. Like, you need to make people's eyes pop out of their head. You need to up the ante. You got to give us something special. This just can't be just some run-of-the-mill, commonplace CGI, just phoning it in. And I love those movies. And who doesn't love those movies? And this movie, yeah, they definitely phoned it in. They definitely called up ET and phoned home the job of doing putting in the visual effects in this movie. Because and on top of that, like there's this, I'm sure like CGI guys, I'm sure visual effects teams are with as many comic book movies and as much effects driven films as there are out there. They got to think of like new and novel things to put up on screen, because they just as well as anybody know that everyone's seen everything, right? There's just so many visual effects driven films. It kind of reminds me like back in, say, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, people had to be getting sick of Westerns, right? Just every movie had horses in it, right? Every movie had cowboys. Every movie had the saloons and the old Western towns. And I'm like, I can just imagine it back in the day. There's like, oh my God, another Western? God, if I see another bar fight, I'm just gonna lose it. It's like, oh man, unless the Western was really good, right? Unless you have a Stagecoach or Rio Bravo or Red River, Big Jake, John Wayne movies, Glenn Ford movies. But nowadays we are just overloaded, not just with comic book movies, but with just movies, just visual effects driven movies. Just CGI everywhere, right? And so I'm going to come up with a comic book movie. You really got to bring it. You cannot just sit there and like, all right, I'm just going to get in this visual effects software, and I'm going to press some buttons, and you know what? It's Monday, and I'm just going to just do what I want to do. I don't care, okay? I just worked on, 311 other movies, and I'm just bored. You can't do that, but they do. But I would not recommend it. I wish. I guess you have to have movies like this, right? To make the movies that go above and beyond with the visual effects, like it stand out even more. For every 100 Morbiuses and Venoms, you've got your Avatars, and your Inceptions, and your Spider-Man No Way Home, and Guardians of the Galaxy. The effects driven films that cared enough about what they were putting out there to do a great job with the effects. And unfortunately, Morbius, they just like, what, every day filming this movie is a Monday, and I'm just gonna not even give. I'm not even gonna give 50%. So anyway, enough about harping on the visual effects. I think you've got the idea I'm trying to drive home here. So yeah, and hey, how about what? In the middle of all all that badness, right? You know, again, I was just piling on old poor Morbius there again. So let's throw another positive nugget in here. So Matt Smith, he plays Milo, Morbius's best friend since childhood. And Matt Smith is an up and coming actor. He hams it up in this movie, and he does I keep saying respectable, but it's not intolerable. I mean, but he does ham it up in this movie with his character, and Matt Smith is he's an actor that his star is rising in Hollywood. And this is just the latest that we see. But he was also in last year's Last Night in Soho that I reviewed, and he played a creepy, definitive bad guy in that movie. And also he's going to be a main recurring character in the upcoming Game of Thrones spinoff, House of the Dragon, which comes out this August. And he's going to be playing Daemon Targaryen in that one. And so he's getting some roles and getting himself out there and becoming more prominent. And he's a lot of people are he's going to be for a little while here. He's going to be that guy. I know that guy. Yeah, he was in that other movie that so and so such and so whatchamacallit. Yeah, that guy. And maybe he'll get beyond that point and he'll be a leading man. But yeah, him and Jared Leto, they are the acting standouts in this movie. I mean, Jared Leto would have had to work really hard not to stand out in this movie. Again, the guy knows his stuff. I mean, Jared Leto's been doing he's been acting since I think the first time. What is that? First time I saw him, he was in American Psycho back in 2000, the Christian Bale movie American Psycho, and I think he was in. So he had to be in something else before that, but he's been doing this for at least 22 years, and so he brings it enough in this movie. In this movie, I mean, this movie came out it actually stopped filming like a couple years ago, or like at least a couple of years ago, and now it's finally coming out now due to the pandemic. But another bright side about this movie is the editing. I mean, the editing is pretty good. It keeps the movie going, and I mean that's the reason that is because it is in the hands of they got themselves a good film editor. It's in the hands of master film editor Pietro Scalia, Pietro Scalia. I mean, if you're a big movie nerd like me, you know that he is like Ridley Scott's go-to editor for most of his movies. I mean, Pietro Scalia, he edited Black Hawk Down, Gladiator, The Martian, JFK, a lot of big movies you've heard of, and I think he did like Alien Covenant. I know he's done at least one of Ridley Scott's Alien movies, and the editing in this movie is in good hands with Pietro Scalia, and he so they got some good talent in some parts of this movie, and so he helps make this movie that blessed 1 hour and 40 minute length that it is. So yeah, I mean, yeah, from what obviously you can tell from the way I'm portraying this movie, yeah, I'm going to be the last one to recommend you go out and see this movie. But hey, you know what? Far be it from me to stop you from going out and see this movie. You may want to judge for yourself, but I highly recommend just wait till it comes out, on some service where you can watch it for free. And even then, you're probably paying too much to watch this movie. Okay, so hey, thanks a lot for listening. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram. And again, these episodes are out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Feel free to give it a 5-star rating, please, and a review. And remember, people, get out there. These movies aren't going to watch themselves. All right, see ya.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me, and I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video Right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting.
No, you cannot urinate in public.
It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here, too. You'll be doing me a big favor.
The urination
I'll be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right. Thanks for watching.
I'll see you back.